Welcome to The Fifth Estate, a conversation between young African scholars and Professor Mutahi Ngunyi. Today, we have summoned Raila Odinga to the court of public opinion to answer 3 charges of political failure. Opinion is divided at the Fort Hall School of Government on whether Raila is guilty or not. We will read the 3 charges, a defense will be made in his favor, and a judgment entered in the interest of the public.
Mr. Odinga, your first charge is that of becoming a revolutionary of convenience, a turncoat revolutionary, a flip-flopping change maker, a prisoner of self-interest. If it favors you, it is good. If it does not serve your interest, it is bad. If country rejects Raila, country becomes bad. Without Raila, country cannot be good. You stand accused, sir, of being self-absorbed. But you also stand accused for your misdeeds of the 2007 election. The people sent you to the house of Pharaoh, and they sent you with this message: "Let my people go." But Pharaoh convinced you to share power with him, and you agreed. Imagine if Moses had agreed to share power with Pharaoh. Mr. Odinga, sir, this is what you did. The unthinkable act of political convenience. And for this, you stand accused.
This is in defense of Baba. According to one Indian philosopher, politics is like surviving in a forest. If you go to the forest, all the straight trees have been cut and all the crooked ones are still standing. In other words, if you are straight in politics, it is impossible to stand because they will cut you down. And this is the Baba logic. In his estimation, and to quote one thinker, politicians are like a bunch of bananas. They're either green, meaning naive, or yellow, meaning expired. They stick together and none is straight. In sum, Raila is not a saint, and maybe he does not care about heaven. However, he subscribes to this verse in the Bible: "Only a fool does not change his mind." Because he is not a fool, he changes his mind all the time. The mind he uses to comment on corruption in the morning is different from the mind he uses to defend his foot soldiers in the afternoon. Besides, and as the saying goes, if you never change your mind, why have one anyway? If Raila is a turncoat, therefore, show me a politician who is not.
Whenever Raila does something obvious, like he has this week, he is executing a scheme. He is creating a diversion, in my view. His flip-flopping on corruption is too obvious for a man of his experience. He knows he will discover him. And this is why I submit that he is executing a scheme. But what is this scheme? In my view, he is dead scared of the unilateral declaration of independence by the Luhya nation through NASA. And to fight this simmering rebellion, he has to create diversions. He has to create conversations about himself. Conversations that are even absurd if they have to be. And one of these conversations is this unlikely story about his corruption flip-flopping, which is obvious to all of us. And because of this genius to be able to create conversations around non-issues, the court of public opinion must enter the following verdict on the flip-flopping charge: not guilty. The charge should have been that of deep fear for Luhya unity under NASA.
Mr. Odinga, you are charged with being in possession of a seditious publication known as the Dictator's Manual, which is in contravention of the law of progressive natives. You are charged with using this manual to generate a groundswell for acidic pessimism against Jamhuri. You are further charged with manufacturing, packaging, trafficking, and peddling political opium to the country. This political opium has caused an addiction to the mention of corruption in government and the downright rejection of all good things done by government. Furthermore, and worse still, this political opium has caused withdrawal symptoms, which include nausea, dizziness, and unconsciousness every time corruption within your ranks is mentioned. You, sir, stand accused of being a hater of country.
This is in defense of Raila over the opium and sedition charges. First I ask, what is wrong with giving the masses political opium anyway? Why stop it now if it has worked for the last 40 years? My submission is that political opium is good for the masses. A sober crowd is an enemy of political practice. But there's another question in defense of Raila. Is it possible that he has inspired us to reject development? That instead of the posh toilets built by NYS in Kibera, he has inspired us to choose the flying toilets instead? Is this a form of civil disobedience against corruption? Is this the opium effect? Maybe what Uhuru lacks in the Uhuru development agenda is a little bit of political opium to spice it. And maybe in defense of Raila, Uhuru can borrow this spice from him.
On the second charge, Raila is guilty. He is guilty of possessing a seditious publication known as the Dictator's Handbook. But I want to appeal to the Republic to allow him to keep this handbook. In fact, he should be encouraged to apply it more viciously on NASA. And this is because NASA is an organized rebellion against him, led by the Luhya nation and supported by the Kamba within CORD. On the charge of hawking political opium to the masses, Raila is also guilty. But I appeal to the Republic to let him continue with this political trade. In fact, we should encourage him to increase his supply of political opium to those feeling the pain of corruption. But we should also warn him that if you feed the public with political bangi every day the way he has done it from when he lost the election, they become unpredictable. And this is why the Luhya and the Kamba nations have abandoned him for NASA.
Mr. Odinga, you stand charged with the impotence of delivery. This is a very serious charge, especially for Africans. You've promised to deliver 3 times and you have failed in all of them. Not because you did not try, but because it was just not possible. Yet, as Wetangula told us, you have refused to release the bride, but you have insisted on trying a 4th time. And because of the pressure to deliver, you have created a cheering squad through the media and mob psychology to give you morale. Then you have created a story. You have told your cheering squad that there is a conspiracy to stop you from delivering. And if you do not deliver, it is because of corruption, theft by IEBC, and a judiciary that hates Raila. Similarly, if you lose, you will announce that you won and they stole. In sum, and like the miracle babies, you must deliver one, with or without country. And this is why you stand accused. Sir, impotence of political delivery is fatal. You cannot fake it. It is over. Finito. Kaput.
This is in defense of Mr. Odinga. So what if he suffers from the impotence of political delivery? If the man has not delivered in the last 40 years, why should it be a problem now? And what is wrong with having a cheering squad to boost his 4th attempt at delivery? What about the masses? What is wrong with cheating them that this time he's reloaded and will deliver pronto? Do recall that the masses suffer from what one scientist called the herd instinct. This scientist took a herd of sheep, put a long stick in front of the first sheep, and forced it to jump. Then he forced the second sheep to jump the stick. By the 5th sheep, he removed the stick. Predictably, the 6th, the 7th, even the 100th sheep jumped the stick that was not there. In their minds, they had been conditioned to believe that the stick was still in place. To overcome his impotence of delivery, Raila has resorted to herd instinct. He has conditioned our minds to believe he is winning. And the question to this court is this: can you blame this kind of genius?
On the charge of impotence of delivery, we want to defer judgment until next year. That is because Raila is like a cat. He has 9 lives. We do not know whether he squandered his 9th life in the last election. We are not sure. But unlike Wetangula, who introduced this impotence debate, you want to entertain the thought that Raila will give us a miracle baby, despite 3 failures. The only disruption, though, to this plan is the Luhya Rebellion against Raila. If the Luhya and the Kamba nations unite under this rebellion, then Raila is history, and this is why. Jubilee will be number 1, NASA will be number 2, and Raila will be number 3, purely on account of ethnic arithmetic. And should there be a runoff in this situation, Raila will be kicked out of the presidential race, and the fight will be between Jubilee and the NASA candidate. If Raila is uneasy, and if he is flip-flopping over corruption, it is because NASA is his biggest nightmare and not corruption, at least for the moment.